So I'm gonna show you guys how I cook soul food. Now this food it doesn't really matter if it's just regular soul food on a Sunday or Thanksgiving food. So if you want to see how I cook, just keep watching. We're gonna start off by cleaning our sink stopper and our sink with some soap, making sure that everything is clean and stuff because we're going to wash our collards in this sink. So I am just taking some already cut collard greens. I don't really have time to be cutting bundles of collard greens. If you prefer to do that, you can go ahead, but I'm gonna go ahead and wash my collard greens. I put a little bit of some soap in there, some dish soap, and I am just going to make sure I clean, go through. If I don't like any of the stem pieces, if they look too dirty, I'm gonna pull them out. Pieces of, collard greens that are dried and old looking, I pull them out, making sure that I'm just washing my collards thoroughly because some people don't do that. Go ahead and drain the collard greens, and 9 times out of 10 you would see like color on bundles of collard greens if you freshly cut them, but there's no color on these. Even if I washed it twice, I still didn't see any like color. But I'm gonna go ahead and rinse through them again with some warm or hot water. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just making sure that I get all of whatever residue that might have been on it from the soap. Now, some people, they don't like using soap, but I do because I'm using this technique from generations down. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the collards in a strainer, just to make it a little bit easier for me to drain the water and stuff. And if I still see any pieces that I do not like, I pick them out and I go ahead and I rinse through the collards once more. So next we're gonna start on the water for the collards. You're gonna get a pretty much a deep enough pot or a pan, not pan, but a pot, deep enough pot, and you're not gonna fill it all the way. You're just gonna fill it like a little bit of the way. I'm gonna take a little bit of sea salt and I'm gonna sprinkle it all into the water, some onion powder, sprinkle it all in the water, and I season like thoroughly, over the pot. Taking some onion powder, some garlic powder, parsley flakes, crushed red pepper flakes because I like a little spice in my collards, a little bit of lemon pepper. You don't want to go too crazy on this because this stuff is very salty. Some whole oregano, some celery flakes, and a little bit of bacon grease. Now, if you don't want to use bacon grease, that's totally fine. You can substitute this for butter. I usually put both, but I didn't have butter when I was doing the collards. I'm gonna stir that into the warm water and put that on medium heat for about 30 minutes. Boil it in medium heat for about 30 minutes. I put a plate over top of it and let it boil. And now we have our seasonings boiling and stuff, and you want to make sure that you boil the seasonings and whatnot before you put the collards in there. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and put the collards in there, and I'm not gonna put any more water in them. I'm gonna let them cook down, and yeah, that's just pretty much how you do it. You let them cook down. You want to check after an hour, and they're like a medium dark green color. I'm going to stir them around a little bit more, and I am going to place the plate right back over top of it. Nope, didn't have a top. And after 2 hours, this is how the collards look. I like for my collards to have like a little bit of crunch to them, so every time you warm them up when you're eating leftovers, they don't overcook or get soggy. So after that, I'm gonna go ahead and start on the chicken. I just bought a whole chicken and I'm gonna cook a whole chicken. I've never cooked a whole chicken before. I really never cooked a whole chicken before, but so So I'm just gonna go ahead and separate the wings and legs from the chicken, you know, kind of pull it apart a little bit. And I'm going to cut down the center of the chicken just because it makes me a little bit more, it makes me feel a little bit more easier that the chicken has been rinsed out thoroughly. And I'm gonna break open, you know, the chest of the chicken. And I really hated doing this part because I don't like messing with raw chicken. So I let it sit in the water for a little bit more time just so it could thaw out fully. And I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands, and we're going to go ahead and start peeling the potatoes. Now I just got 3 large potatoes, and I am going to peel them to make mashed potatoes. This is good enough for a 2 to 3 person family. So just in case you wanted to know how much food would be prepared, it's good for about 2 to 3 people in a family for about 2 to 3 days. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up a pot halfway, and I'm going to set that aside. We're going to go ahead and rinse out the chicken, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off certain pieces of the skin of the chicken that I just do not like. It doesn't look appetizing. I am really funny about chicken. So I need to cut off all like the little tan or yellow pieces that just does not look right. It doesn't look clean. And that's what pretty much you see me doing here. I'm using the same knife that I've been using, and it's been cleaned off every single time. So just in case somebody want to call somebody nasty, and the stuff is clean. And yeah, that's all you see me doing. I'm cutting off the ugly pieces of the chicken, and that's just pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and sit the chicken in a glass bowl that I'm going to bake it in because, you know, put some dish detergent and some Clorox in your sink and get some paper towels and clean your sink out. You don't want to wash your sink out with your dish rag or your sponge, whatever you use, because that will hold more bacteria. So for the seasonings for the chicken, I am adding some sea salt to the chicken, and I go throughout the whole chicken. I like covered the length of the chicken, and that's pretty much what you're going to see me do with all of the seasonings. You know, the garlic powder, the onion powder, I am just covering the length of the chicken and flipping it on each side, flipping it back and forth when I switch different seasonings. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, all the seasonings and stuff, they will be down in the description box and all of that type of thing. So yeah, with the lemon pepper, I only did it on one side because, like I said, lemon pepper is extremely salty and you don't want to put too much on your. I also added some crushed red pepper and some ground paprika, and I don't know, I just like the way it tastes. Paprika tastes on chicken, I don't really know. And I put some chicken broth, you know, over the chicken so that way it could, you know, bake in the chicken broth. And I melted some butter and I poured the melted butter over the chicken. You want to cover the chicken with, you know, some aluminum foil, and you're going to stick it in the oven. And you're going to stick it in the oven for about an hour on 400 degrees. And I know a lot of you guys are probably like saying you only cook your chicken for an hour. No, I only cook my chicken for an hour covered. So now we're going to go ahead to the potatoes, and you just want to cut the potatoes you know, in chunks or whatnot, because they're going to be mashed potatoes anyway, and you just want to make sure that they cook at a good decent time and they don't take too long. Now for the gravy, just skip everything that I did right here because that gravy was freaking awful because I put poultry seasoning in it, and it wasn't supposed to go in there. But how I normally make gravy is I take some sea salt, some milk, melted butter, seasoning cubes like bouillon cubes, like chicken or beef bouillon cubes, 3 forkfuls of flour, and 2 dashes of Worcestershire sauce. Put that all in a blender and then put it in a pot and cook it on low for 15 to 30 minutes. And that's a good gravy for pretty much anything. You only want to use 1 bouillon cube though, because you don't want your gravy too salty. So we're going to go ahead and check the potatoes and put a little salt in the potatoes. They have been boiling for about 30 minutes to an hour. And we're going to start on the macaroni and cheese, and you want to put a little bit of olive oil in there, a little bit of salt, and boil that for 30 minutes before you put the noodles in. After it starts boiling, you're going to put the noodles in, you're going to stir it around, and you're going to cover the pot back. You're going to cover the pot back? Really? You're going to cover the pot. And I'm just checking the potatoes, and those seem pretty done, so I'm just going to move those out of the way and cut that eye off. And you want to move the noodles back to the eye. You're going to drain your potatoes and move those out of the way. And you're going to boil your noodles for about 15 to 30 minutes. And you're going to pour the noodles out into the strainer and strain your noodles. And you're going to rinse your noodles with cold water. Don't rinse them with hot water, rinse them with cold water. And I'll show you why later on. On to the taters. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of milk in there, a little sea salt, some melted butter, 2 tablespoons of mayo, and a little bit of pepper, and you're going to mash those all together. And this is how I make my mashed potatoes. You can add cheese in there if you want to, but I'm not adding cheese. They're just going to be regular mashed potatoes. And some people are really funny about mayo when I say I put mayo in my mashed potatoes, but it really gets the mashed potatoes super, super creamy and really, really yummy. You just make sure that you refrigerate it, because the mayo will go bad if you allow your potatoes to sit out for more than a day. So on to the macaroni and cheese. You're going to add 2 eggs, and the reason why you want to rinse your noodles with cold water is because the eggs will freaking cook in your macaroni and cheese if you do not do that. So you're going to put 2 eggs in your macaroni and cheese, and this is just really going to give it that authentic, hey, it's from scratch type of macaroni and cheese, you know, feel. That's I don't know how to really explain it. The eggs combine everything together. What do you guys want me to say? I just know how to cook. I don't know how to explain anything. I put a little milk in there as well, and I'm popping some sea salt in there as well. You don't want to over salt your macaroni and cheese, and I put a lot of pepper in my macaroni and cheese because I really love pepper on macaroni and cheese. I'm gonna add some sour cream. I'm going to add the whole little container of the sour cream, and I'm going to mix that all together. Now, some of you guys might feel funny about me mixing my stuff with my hands, but hey, I cook, so my hands are clean, so it is what it is. You're going to mix all that around, and I'm going to take some Colby and Monterey Jack cheese, Monterey, some feta, and some Velveeta cheese. And I'm going to go ahead and butter the pan. You can choose not to do this if you don't want to do it, but I chose to do it. So butter the pan if you want. You don't have to. And you're going to go ahead and start layering the cheeses and stuff and all of that. And I just layered the cheese with some bacon bits and some feta cheese. My camera cut off. And I'm going to take little pieces of the Velveeta cheese and spread it all throughout the pan as well. And then you're going to go ahead and scoop your macaroni and cheese and continuously layer you know, your cheese, your feta cheese, your Velveeta cheese, your bacon bits, and just continuously layer it until you run out of space and ingredients. Okay, so after about an hour, you're going to uncover your chicken and you're going to flip it around on the other side. And this is just going to get the chicken to have like some crispiness to it, as well as go ahead and cook and do what it got to do. And I poked holes through the chicken too with a knife. You want to cover up your macaroni and cheese. The oven is still on 400 degrees and you're going to let that sit in there for about another hour. We're going to start on our Jiffy cornbread, and all Jiffy cornbread all it requires is 1 egg and a 1/3 cup of milk or water. Depends on how you want your cornbread. I always use milk. I try to use milk instead of water because milk adds richness to the food. And you can add a little bit more milk or water to your cornbread mix depending on how you like your batter. It's really simple and self-explanatory. The directions are on the box. And the oven is always going to be on 400 degrees when you are cooking your muffin cornbread. So after about an hour of the chicken being cooked and the macaroni and cheese cooked 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to go ahead and stir the macaroni and cheese to make sure all the flavors are mixed in together, and you know, it's just ooey gooey goodness and stuff like that. And you know, the cheese is just, you know, you want it to be melted and stuff. I'm going to add a little bit more salt because it does need a little bit more salt to me. And I'm going to take the rest of the Velveeta cheese that was left over and stick it in there. Cover the macaroni and cheese up again, and and after about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, you have your soul food. So I have my collard greens, my mac and cheese, my mashed potatoes, chicken, and cornbread, and that's pretty much it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys, you know, learned something from this. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Happy Thanksgiving or whatever you want to call it. Bye.